Hello there. During the time of the Clone Wars, the Grand Army of the Republic needed itself a transport that could ship all of the clones and many of their more essential vehicles from the Venator class Star Destroyers and from the Acclamator class assault ships down to the surface so they can do battle with all the other ground forces against the Confederacy of Independent Systems. And today we are going to be talking about that ship, and the ship being named the LAAT. So without further ado, here we go. But first, as always, we start with a little bit of a breakdown. The LAAT was originally created by Rothana Heavy Engineering and was utilized as the line of low altitude assault transports that were utilized by the Grand Army of the Republic during the time of the Clone Wars. The ship was known as a gunship, a transport, a starfighter, and a bomber at 85,000 credits. It was 17.4 meters in length, nearly 28.8 meters in width, and 6.1 meters high, with two repulsor lift engines, two thrust engines, and a medium range sensor, along with a navigational terrain sensor and flight computer. The arsenal of the ship itself varied between one or two different options, but overall they had three anti personnel turrets, four composite beam pinpoint laser turrets, eight light air to air rockets, and mass driver missile launchers that were basically throughout the entirety of the top of the ship. Also complemented with speeder bikes, a battlefield medical droid, escape capsules, and two clone trooper pilots, along with an additional co-pilot or forward gunner, and two clone gunners that were on the auxiliary turrets on the sides of the ship, with a passenger cargo of 30 clone troopers, heavy infantry, one platoon each, and a cargo capacity of 30 kilograms. With, of course, the blast shields also being installed to ensure that all of the actual men aboard the ships could be protected inside of said ship from blaster fire until they were released out onto the battlefield. The role of the LAAT itself was a lot. Lander, escort, elevated gun platform, infantry transport, air-to-ground support, and air-to-air support, originally introduced in 22 BBY by the Grand Army of the Republic to support the entirety of the Clone Army during the Clone Wars. And of course, there were also multiple variations of the LAAT that served throughout the entirety of the Clone Wars. The LAAT-I was the infantry transport that basically transported every single infantry unit in the Grand Army of the Republic. Platoons of clone troopers, Jedi generals, Jedi knights, Jedi padawans, literally everything that you can think of, they would transport, even to the actual Republic commandos that were extremely valuable to the Republic's stealth missions throughout the entirety of the Republic. Also, one of the actual LAATs was the LAATC, also known as the LAAT Carrier, which carried multitudes of different ships along with the ATTEs, the ATXTs, the Republic troop transports, the Saber-class fighter tanks, the mobile command bases, the command centers, and the RX-200 Falcon class assault tanks. And of course, there were also multiple different variations of the LAAT, like LAAT Stealth, which was the actual ship utilized by the Grand Army of the Republic for infiltration missions, like the actual clone commandos, that would sneak behind enemy lines and be transported so far back that they could infiltrate enemy bases, as well as the LAAT-V, which was the LAAT vehicle unit, which was specifically created to carry 16 74Z speeder bikes, among other means of transportation, and it was similar to the LAATC carrier in the sense that they both carried vehicles into battle, and each of the LAAT-V had three anti-personnel laser cannons, in some variants, two composite laser beams in the wings. But in truth, whenever it comes to the LAAT, we don't really know where exactly it came from. What we do know is that whenever Count Dooku left the Jedi Order, went to Kamino, and asked them to create a clone army using the DNA of Jango Fett, he also went to multiple different individuals to try and see if they could create an actual transport suitable for this massive clone army, and one of them was Rothana Engineering. And they worked meticulously, creating the perfect gunship and the perfect transport that would serve as the ultimate weapon of the Grand Army of the Republic throughout the entirety of the Clone Wars, and would prove to be an extremely essential ship for the entirety of the Clone Wars itself. Of course, the LAATs were then seen on the Battle of Geonosis immediately during the first battle of the actual Clone Wars, along with the Acclamator-class assault ships. Multitudes of different Jedi flew on them as transports. Multitudes of different clone platoons also flew on them, and multitudes of different clones actually died because of these ships. But the ships were extremely popular, they were well made, they were well structured, and they were well executed, being one of the greatest gunships and transports throughout the entirety of the Clone Wars. But unfortunately, because of the Empire being the Empire, they did not stick around for long. You would think that because of the dependability and the absolute insanity of the LAAT, that Emperor Palpatine would want to keep the LAAT around because of how good it was. But instead, he didn't do that, and he just replaced them with the Imperial dropship transports because he wanted to get rid of any symbol of the entirety of the Republic of beforehand. So he just decided, we're going to get Rothana Engineering to create a new transport and replace the entirety of the LAAT with that. And because of that, multitudes of thousands upon thousands of different LAAT transports were then shipped off to the junkyards. And who did they end up with other than the Alliance to Restore the Republic? And of course, it was because of Palpatine's stupidity and his obsession with trying to get rid of the Republic that the LAATs, of course, ended up in the hands of the Alliance to Restore the Republic. The Rebel Alliance used all the LAATs that they could find. Many of the resistance movements and the resistance groups throughout the entirety of the galaxy also used the LAATs, including all of the other ships that were effectively trashed by the Empire, like the ARC 170s, the V Wings, the V Turrets, and literally everything else in between, to the point where literally every single Republic ship from the Clone Wars ended up in the possession of the actual Rebel Alliance in one way, shape, and form. But unfortunately, that's all the information that we really have on the LAATs. I hope you guys really like this video, and I hope you guys stick around for more. Make sure to hit that like button, that subscribe button, leave a comment, and I will see you guys in the next video. May the Force be with you.